Over the last 6 years, I've had the privilege of recording the stories of giants. Dennis Borsos is one of those giants. Uh, I know the man personally. I'm not going to get into his life. I've done interviews out there without him. But basically, he did not want to hand out the COVID vaccine. He just didn't want to do it. And he knew APRA would come from him. On a Monday, he started offering exemptions. And as far as I know, the exemption just offered people 3 months to try find the informed consent that big Pfizer themselves couldn't offer. And so he's basically living up his Hippocratic oath. He didn't want to do any harm, which is giving someone this vaccine without informed consent. So on Monday, he handed out about 3 of anyone that came to his country surgery. On Tuesday, there was a few more, and he expected there to be a rush, but he didn't expect it to happen as quick as it did. It happened on a Wednesday, and there was a mile-long queue of cars outside of his driveway. A lot of them, there was police officers in there, government officials, nurses, you name it, everyone there desperate from a vaccine because people did not want to take this. But as Dan Andrews had said, this is a vaccinated economy. If you're not vaccinated, you're out. And so the pressure on these people to take it, to keep their mortgages, keep their jobs was immense. And there's a link to an interview I did with a man who was in the surgery when the police came. And he talks about Dennis almost like a Schindler, offering people hope. The whole state for one day was talking about the courage of this man. That was about 4 years ago. And he has been basically suspended since then. And then finally, the verdict came out now, and he's got 5 years of being deregistered until he can apply again. And so tonight we've reached out to a load of other doctors who dared to question APRA and the COVID narrative and are also in various states of trouble because of it. And they're coming out to support this brave man. And the question of this night is twofold. The first basically is why do we need APRA? Why do we need this organization that isn't even a government organization terrorizing our doctors in the way that if a doctor says something that goes against their protocols but might be good for you, they too could be suspended or deregistered? And two, what do you want from a doctor? Because me, as the only person on tonight is not a doctor, I just want one doctor to tell me the absolute truth. Not that any of these mongrels will do that. But anyway, but one of these tell me the absolute truth. And there's no one else. There's just me and the doctor, almost like a confessional. And I think that's what most of us want. We don't want to be in there with the doctor and have APRA sitting there with a loaded gun at the doctor's head saying, don't you tell them anything other than the protocols. We don't know if Dennis will come on. He's thinking about it because he feels that he's said enough. So I do have some videos he sent in that I've put to AI. So I'll just play 2 of them.
I love Cafe Locked Out. Every time I watch Michael and Paul, my toes curl up. I'm not sure what that is.
Sorry, that was
The evidence is plain as day. If the applicant was operating the governing legislation correctly, the incidence of cancer would be decreasing. But it's not.
I would sincerely prefer the applicant was right about the allegations. That would mean a simpler, better world, but it's not. The misuse of the legislation is achieving catastrophic results for the public, and this cannot be supported. Most importantly, it is unforgivable that we have failed to protect our children.
One more.
The evidence is plain as day. If the applicant was operating the governing legislation correctly, the rates of autism ADHD would be decreasing, but it's not.
Okay, so I'm going to bring in now the Magnificent Seven. We have Dr. Paul Oosterhouse, great fan of the show. We got Dr. Pay, who has have been treated terribly by the police in the ACT and others. We have the fabulous Dr. Mai Lee, who should be Australia of the Year as far as I'm concerned. We have Dr. David Nixon, who was probably handed out more exemptions than anyone. And then in the dark, we have the wonderful and noble Dr. Mark Hobart. Thank you for joining us, Doctor. And there might be someone
I
else
can't
joining us,
hear.
and Dennis might join
I
us.
can't
You
hear.
can't hear? Oh, you can't hear. You might have to go out and come back in. Okay, there goes the looks. Gentlemen, I shall hand it over to you. Who would like to go first? How about you, Paul? And I'll go down the bottom here and get out the way.
Yeah, there goes the neighborhood. It's great to be here with some of my favorite deplorables. I mean, we're all clearly deplorable, and so this is a basket of deplorables. But well, I can't say that about Mark. It's such a joy to have him here. He's but we're here to talk about Dennis today, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a great tragedy. He's such a brave man, and those clips that we just played were from his testimony to the Medical Board of Australia and the tribunal. And he was saying if the system was really working in the public health interest, why are all these things, all these bad outcomes happening? And he, as Bruce understands, he came from a communist country, and so he knew that he knew the stench of tyranny and communism when he saw it. And boy, did we experience it in 2021. And we should not forget. We should not forget, and we should really. I think it's important that we highlight this fantastic man.
Yeah, he comes from Hungary. I don't know. I think he did his doctor thing over there. What he does, he was working in Colac, and in the hospital there in Colac, he was their number one doctor, the go-to doctor. He could do. He could be an anaesthetist. He could do broken legs. He could deliver babies. He was an absolute invaluable asset to the town, and now he cuts down their trees, and he competes for those jobs with other things as he's doing tree clipping. It's an absolute ridiculous waste of a resource. To me, it's. I don't see how the public benefits by having any of you not practicing, but especially in Colac, I don't see how the community benefits from having Dennis not practicing. And Andrew Beale, who is a major guy in the town, he's told me there's enormous support in the town for Dennis. What are your thoughts, Bruce? You've read the verdicts and you've read his reply.
Well, again, I look around the six deplorables here, and they're all of middle to senior years. The better two are grey-bearded. The others, excuse me, Miley, probably should be. But Dennis was in the same thing. He's got enough life experience to recognise tyranny and say, I'm not doing it. And I had the same thing. I didn't grow up in a communist country, but I spent about a year in Iraq and Afghanistan. So I knew that what we have in Australia, or had in Australia, was this sort of rare and fragile thing, a free society, safety, democracy, and it can go away at any time. And history says that it does go away every time. So when it came along, I also went, I know, I've seen this movie before. I know what this is, and I'm not doing it. And so I fell foul of APRA as well. I wrote mask exemptions. I wrote vax exemptions. And when I read down the finding, the judgment on Dennis, it started off his crimes were the first two things listed. He wrote vaccine exemptions. He wrote mask exemptions. Then they went on to clarify things about the circumstances, but they were his two crimes. And I did the same thing. And I've been mildly chipped in the past by Elizabeth Hart. Love you, Elizabeth, and you're quite right. She said, why are you even issuing exemptions? It's invalid. And that's utterly true. The basic first principle of law is that you own your body, so you get to choose what's done with it. And no one else may damage it without your permission. And without your permission sounds a bit odd, but there are times, surgery or boxing are times when you might agree to have your body damaged. But the default condition is you don't have to apply for permission to not be beaten up. That's intrinsic. So you don't have to get permission from your doctor to say no to the state. You just say, no, thanks. So in a sense, Dennis is being found guilty of a non-crime because Exemptions don't exist. They're completely irrelevant. The patient has that power by default, albeit, if that got them out of a dangerous procedure, I issued them as well. And I also noted unbelievably in the judgment that he was also accused of failing to properly inform patients about the risks and benefits of the COVID injections. I mean, are you effing kidding me? That's every doctor in Australia. The government didn't tell us what the risks were. Even when they knew what they were, they just denied them. They lied about the benefits, remember the 95, 90, 80 decreasing efficacy, and they wouldn't let us discuss the options, including nothing, options like vitamin D and ivermectin. And in fact, I got a show cause from APRA for writing scripts for ivermectin and what was that other one?
Hydroxychloroquine.
Hydroxychloroquine. Yeah, I wrote scripts for those things, and I got a show cause from APRA. In fact, I got a number of show causes from APRA, and I liked Dennis's approach to answering those, because I took a similar approach. This is a star chamber, not a serious thing. So I just told him sex and travel sideways with a pineapple. And I hope that you and everyone else who's just following orders at APRA knows that you're part of the biggest medical disaster in history. Now, when I did that, they also wrote to me and said, okay, if ever you want to get registered again, we will take this correspondence into consideration. So
Can I ask Dr. Miley? Dr. Miley, you've been like Dr. Hobart, and you've been fighting the same thing. It's still ongoing. So that's why Dr. Hobart is more here just to show his face and support. There's how has it been for you to hear that Dennis has got to hear now, after literally he hasn't really done a crime? With the people, ask the people say it's not a crime. So what are your thoughts, Dr. Miley?
Absolutely not. So I spoke to Dennis about what happened, and I attempted to read his judgment, but I couldn't bear it. I just couldn't bear it. So I think I read about 3-4 pages, and I just abandoned. He did nothing wrong. He did what was right, and I believe all doctors in Australia should have done the same thing. So I'm really angry that he have had to give up a career that he's good at, to be a tree doctor. It's just wrong. Yeah. So I love those video clips that you showed earlier. I would love to have those and post it on social media. Exceptionally good.
The AI though, they're not from him.
Oh,
They're speaking his words, though.
Add a Hungarian accent to them.
Yeah, but they're speaking his words, Mark.
Yeah, they're speaking his words.
It's his words, but it's AI image of him speaking his words.
It's brilliant. I still want it. So
yeah, no worries. It only goes in 10-second slots.
Yeah.
David, you told me you've issued hundreds of exemptions, and you now have about the same, don't you, a 5-year or a 6-year wait until you can be registered?
Yeah, I was just following Matt Hobart's lead, so I blame Matt, because Matt came up with the line that you're either mad or you want an exemption. So people, you're in a catch-22. So I thought, well, that's a pretty good argument. So yeah.
And I did what Mark did. I hid my notes in case they were seized. My patient records were not going to be seized if it came to that. They were not in a place they could be found.
Do you think they've waited this long to do this to Dennis in the hope that the whole world's forgotten about COVID and this won't even make a ripple? Do you think that's why they've stretched it out so long? Anyone?
I don't know. They stretched it out because that's part of the punishment. They even deliberately ignored the last 4.5 years that he hasn't been able to practice, and added another 5 years out of spite for the crime of supporting the informed consent. You had that video that's recording of the people who were there. They were rejoicing because they were under so much stress to get the shot, and that coercion was illegal. It was a crime, and so few people stood up, and that's why there was joy. There's a doctor here who will actually listen, and he made a reasonable argument. He fought. We know that there's myocarditis. It was already known at that stage. People are concerned about it. If they want a 3-month temporary exemption to go and see a cardiologist to discuss it, that's their right. He thought he was doing something very normal and reasonable. But what Bruce said was normal and reasonable too. They should have been able to just say, no, thank you, and that's it. But that's not where it landed, is it? They wanted to take away the ability of people to earn a living. So that's untenable coercion and a crime in my books. And yes, Bruce.
That's my final answer, which I didn't bring. So, no, you said it was a crime what they did. It was a hanging offence, and that was made clear at Nuremberg. At the doctors' trials at Nuremberg, 3 of the senior Nazi doctors were hung, and the first item of the Nuremberg Code that came from that said the voluntary consent of the human subject is absolutely essential. So it was a hanging offence, not just a crime. So obviously nobody who consented this gave informed consent, because they couldn't be told what the risks were because we didn't know. Even if the government wasn't lying about them, it was still an experiment. They did lie about the benefits. They told us that there were protections which were not there, and we saw them decline off over time. And they suppressed all knowledge of the alternatives, vitamin D or nothing. So it's a fact that nobody in Australia who accepted these injections gave informed consent because they couldn't. So they were all assaulted. Every single person who rolled up their sleeve and took a shot was a victim of assault. And every single person who put a needle in the arm committed assault. There's no other way around it.
Yeah.
Dr. Miley, in your case that you've been fighting in the tribunal, didn't the magistrate or whoever the person is in charge say that the Nuremberg laws don't apply now in Australia anymore, or something to that effect?
No, not in my case. No.
Oh,
That was,
that was you, was it? That was you, sorry, David.
Yeah.
What did they say?
The way it was ended up being put was the fact that the Nuremberg Code doesn't have jurisdiction in Australia. I think that was the way it was put. Which technically in terms of my understanding of the legal situation, but there were so many things going on in the background that just undid everything. The fact that this was a military-run operation, it was done under emergency use authorization inappropriately. It was done through the American Prayer Pact, and I encourage everybody to follow Sacha Latipova's work on the legal situation. And basically, it came down to the will of one person who had the decision to whether this was going to be rolled out to the global population. I mean, it was just an amazing situation.
So you're saying that the Nuremberg Code did apply to the Nazis, but not to us. That's a bit of an indictment, isn't it?
Well, that's maybe why I sometimes call us the new, we live in a new Nazi-like situation, because, stupid is as stupid does, Nazi is as Nazi does, communist is as communist does. It's got elements of all of that, what's been going on the last few years. I'm interested if Mark's willing, Mark Hobart, to we're really here to support Dennis and celebrate his courage to go against it, and he's been attacked. I think desperately unfairly, and I think a lot of the listeners feel the same. What do you say, Mark?
Well, I agree with all of you and what you've all said. It's very cruel that he's been cancelled for 5 years on top of 4.5 years of being suspended already. It's cruel. It's obvious that the punishment is way above. Well,
the non-existent crime.
There's no crime. He did nothing wrong.
In fact, Mark, that's how he started. That's his beginning of his statement. He says, I maintain that the applicant, in this case, the Medical Board of Australia, is wrong, cruel, and arrogant.
Yeah. You know? Well, that's right. We all did the right thing, and we're being punished for doing the right thing.
That's correct.
This is how tyrants operate. We are working against a tyrannical order, and we're being punished for it.
Correct. So of all of us, who's still registered?
Michael?
I haven't been cancelled. I'm suspended only.
Well, hence my my comment there.
The only good doctor is a deregistered doctor. It's really interesting. You know, I have met some doctors who managed to go under the radar. One works in as a phone doctor. He talked to me in Perth, and that's where they knew he was unvaccinated, and that's where they allowed him to stay. Another one joined me from Queensland. I think she's far, far, far north in Queensland. She sort of kept her head down. But there's Dr. William Bay can't join us tonight. Everyone's coming on. His lawyers won't let him. But it's I don't know. See, as the only non-doctor here, I'm just thinking, what's in it for Australians? Because Australians, last time I remember when the madness was on, because Cafe Lockdown just started, Damien and I and others and Hoodie and John Larder were all getting called. Is anyone giving an exemption? Anyone giving an exemption? People were desperate for exemptions, calling us. Hopefully, we knew. Well, if they try to pull this mandated vaccines against either the hantavirus or this or the Ebola chip virus or whatever else they're going to do, there'll be no doctors there.
Correct.
There'll be none. No one will be given exemptions. And this is
point.
what you've got to decide what you want from your doctors. Do you want sales reps for Big Pharma, or do you want doctors? And to me, I think the Australian public want autonomous doctors. They want doctors who stand alone. They've done their education. The buck stops with them. You know, we go to them for advice. And if you want another opinion, you go somewhere else. But that's what a doctor is. And that's I think most people would want that. They just don't want, you know, we've got enough sales reps for every other, I don't want to swear because Mark's on, any other crap that's going on. We don't want that. You know what I mean? That's what we want. It's almost like a priest. It's, you know, you talk to many old people, they adore their doctors, and the relationship is so deep. The doctor could give them Ebola, they'd probably take it. You know what I mean? They trust them so deeply. And this is what we've got to get back to. And if you're a doctor watching, what do you want to be as a doctor? Is that what you want to be? You want to see someone who doesn't need this, or this doesn't need this vaccine? You know it could injure them, and you're going to give it to them anyway, just because, well, you no longer have your own power. It's a powerful thing that you guys are doing. Powerful thing, you know.
Michael, if you remember early on, we all got issued what was called the gag order. So every health practitioner got a letter which basically said, if you don't parrot the government line, that's unprofessional conduct, and you'll be called into account for that. So what that meant is not only could you not go and get a second opinion anywhere because each doctor was required to give you the same opinion, you couldn't even get a first opinion because each doctor was required to give you the government's opinion. So in my case, I wrote, quite a number of vaccine exemptions, particularly for young female ambulance officers, because I was, I worked for ambulance at the time, and they would specifically come and see me, and they were young women and they were worried about fertility because even early on we knew that was a risk. And so I did half-hour consults with all of them, and if at the end of the consult I decided that the risks and benefits were not in favour of vaccine, I'd issue them a certificate. What happened then was that they gave those exemptions in at work at South Australian Ambulance, and then either the Ambulance Service Medical Officer, the ASMO, or the CHO, the Chief Health Officer in South Australia, binned the lot of them. So I had a therapeutic relationship with a patient. I'd spent a half an hour taking a history, examination, etc., and getting a proper transfer of information so they could make an informed decision. And when they said, I don't think that's in my best interest, I gave them a certificate supporting that. So it was a proper, sacred, therapeutic relationship between a patient and a doctor. And that is sacred, by the way. In no other industry, well, in almost no other industry, do you go and see your professional confidant and undress. Doesn't happen at the bank, doesn't happen at the accountant, doesn't happen at the lawyers. I say generally doesn't happen. So there's something special about the personal medical relationship. So I'd taken the trouble to do all of that properly. And the Chief Health Officer, the most senior doctor in South Australia, who didn't know the patients, had not had the discussion with them, was not in a therapeutic relationship with them, simply binned the lot of them. Grossly unprofessional misconduct. I am now no longer registered a doctor, and the Chief Health Officer got a public service medal and is still the CHO 5 years later. Utter disgrace.
Dr. Pape, before you go, could you tell us just what happened to, including Canberra, for anyone watching who's unaware of your history? So where you went from there to, just a brief, to the atrocious way you were treated.
Okay, so I popped my head up fairly early, and just by way of background, I was a public hospital doctor. I worked for Flying Doctor. I worked for Ambulance. I was a defence reservist who'd been to East Timor, Afghanistan, Iraq. In fact, when I was in Afghanistan, it was during the MERS epidemic in 2012. So I was actually the senior health officer during that, related coronavirus. So I had a bit of a background in epidemiology. And when COVID reared up its head, I just started doing some reading to find out about it. And I pretty quickly worked out the vaccines were dangerous and had to be ineffective because of the two-compartment model, where they're injected, they can't stop you inhaling a virus. So I started saying to people, this is a bad idea, this won't work. And there were so few doctors speaking out that pretty soon I was talking at rallies and doing consults for exemptions and so forth. And I also contacted my MP, who was the State Attorney General, and said, you guys are making huge mistakes here. What you're trying to do to control this isn't going to work, and it's unethical. So my MP refused to meet with me.
I can see him.
Josh Teague was his name. He's the Deputy Liberal Leader in South Australia. He refused to meet with me. So I said to his Chief of Staff, that's fine. I've recorded all the conversations, which, by the way, made the Chief of Staff go apeshit. And I said, I'll be giving evidence at Nuremberg too. I've got the receipts. So following that, I had a visit from the police at home where they were pretending to do a firearms check, but they were really there to discuss another matter. And that another matter was the fact that I'd been communicating with my MP. And they said that I needed to pull my head in, otherwise, quote, things might happen which you do not want. So I had a personal home visit to threaten me to keep my mouth shut from the police at home. Now, I didn't keep my mouth shut. I uploaded that to the internet and got 100,000 views internationally, which again was not what the government planned on. So I then lost my job with SA Health, which meant I was free to go to Canberra for the big protest in Canberra. And in the lead up to that, the AFP framed me for a bogus traffic stop. I won't give you the details, but eventually, basically, they arrested me and said that I'd assaulted a road worker with my vehicle, when in fact I'd been stationary and the road worker had punched my Land Cruiser. Anyway, the police, there just happened to be 3 police officers sitting in a patrol car watching when this happened. So I was rapidly arrested and spent 6 days in jail. and then a year on bail, charged with dangerous driving, assault occasioning actual body harm, aggravated assault, etc., for this road worker punching my car. And I actually had it all on film. And the police forgot or didn't realise they didn't do their job properly. So when it went to court 12 months later, I had this string of 3 police officers all tell this tightly choreographed story about how I had, raced through this tight checkpoint and bowled over cones and revved the engine in rapid speed, when in fact I had a picture of this guy, the police admitting that there'd been no contact, and I had the assault on me. So that sort of killed the case for the police. But they went ahead. They went all the way through with it, framing me. And if I'd been found guilty, and let's face it, if I didn't film it, I'd have been found guilty. If you've got 3 police officers swearing that I did something, and you've got one COVID heretic saying that you didn't, I'd have been in jail.
Yeah.
And they were trying to get me 10 years. That's what they're trying to do. So, they really did try and get rid of me as a problem. So far it hasn't worked, but maybe they'll try again. But it doesn't matter. I've done everything I need to do in life. My only job now is to make sure my children don't get terrorised by the state. That's it. I don't want to be a doctor anymore. I don't want to go to medicine. Does anybody here want to be a doctor anymore? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's to our loss, though. I'm sorry, from us, you're a great loss to us. You all are, actually, but you are. And
just because we remember informed consent, I don't believe they've repealed informed consent, which means you've got to tell the benefits and the potential harms. The APRA position statement. Oh, good, Mark's back, I hope. The APRA position statement, clearly it said you cannot say anything negative about the campaign. It was that simple. From then on, the regulators had destroyed informed consent by their gag order, and a few brave people said no, they won't comply with this tyranny, because it's being able to control what goes into your body and being told the truth about your procedure is very basic ethics. It's not even complicated ethics, and we could see harm. We could see the potential for great harm. I think that harm has been proven, and the idea that the government has the gall to still come after people like Dennis and Dr. Mark and Dr. Miley is it's infuriating to me, honestly, because I feel we're in a Twilight Zone episode. It just doesn't make sense.
That's the thing.
We were right.
Dr. Nixon, for those who don't know, can you tell us why you got in trouble with APRA?
Well, there were a few reasons, and most of them have already been mentioned. Writing scripts for ivermectin, along with zinc and doxycycline and hydroxychloroquine, and then on the 14th of September, when Greg Hunt announced that we were no longer able to prescribe ivermectin, I went to my local pharmacy with some research I'd done on in following a COVID medical network meeting where we've been discussing wormwood and Enua, Artemisia, and the pharmacist actually reported me to APRA as well.
The pharmacist?
Yeah, well, it was on the weekend, so it was a locum pharmacist, so I didn't realise that, and he reported me to APRA as well.
Right.
Did he fill the scripts?
That was after the 14th, so they went out before the 14th. They were filled, but after the 14th, nobody was filling them because,
So the pharmacist was acting as the doctor rather than you.
the pharmacist was following the line of ivermectin and ivermectin-like products with appropriate treatment for COVID. Yeah.
And what basis
Dr.
did he have for saying that? Where was his medical degree from?
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah,
Dr.
I mean,
Miley,
I'd given them plenty of good information.
Dr. Miley, we've documented your case in depth, but for anyone watching tonight, because hopefully this will spread, first off, I want to say, can I just give some background? And Dr. Miley is an extraordinary human being, like Dennis, born basically in the Cambodian killing fields, lost her mother there, ended up as a refugee, getting to Australia, working in a sweatshop, unable to speak any English, teaching herself and realizing her only way out of this terrible situation was to educate herself. She was working in a sweatshop when not in school, teaching herself English and other studies in books held above the sewing machines and everything else she was on. Did all this, got into dentistry, from dentistry became a doctor, had her own practice, never had a complaint against her in all her time as a doctor, beloved doctor. But then she did the terrible crime of saving somebody's life. Can you take it from there, Dr. Miley?
Yes, so I treated a patient who had been in hospital with COVID, and she discharged herself against medical advice and went home and continued to deteriorate. I was told that she wasn't that unwell and whether I could give her, treat her. So I proceeded to treat her, and this is remotely because at the time, if you have COVID, you'll be locked in your house. You can't get out. You can't get any help because the idea is that you stay home until you get worse, and then you call an ambulance and you get escorted to the hospital. So she and her family knew a bit about ivermectin. So I proceeded to, I told her to go to the hospital and she wouldn't go because she's been in there and they've done nothing for her. I treated her. She had a bit of side effects and she ended up at Westmead Hospital, and a professor, an associate professor who's a toxicologist at Westmead Hospital, told the intern to report me to the Healthcare Complaints Commission. And that's how I got in trouble. And the second complaint was a person by the name of John Smith, who's not contactable, who we don't know the identity of, and he alleged that I have been promoting ivermectin in an online forum, and that I am an anti-vaxxer, and that I prescribed ivermectin to his friend, and this is the script of his friend. And so John Smith forgot to redact the ivermectin script, which turned out to be my brother's prescription. And I was the one that actually took the prescription to the chemist. So I went to check with the chemist, and he told me, or the assistant told me, that APRA agent had come to collect the prescription. So the story of John Smith went a bit viral online when I posted that, and one of the independent media wrote about that. So that's kind of how I got into trouble. I did something a bit outrageous because after I got suspended, I decided to do what Oosterhuis was doing at the time, and that was to challenge a legislation called Section 145D1. And so I was doing it at the tribunal, and he was doing it at the Supreme Court. So that got me into trouble because halfway through, they decided to initiate a prosecution proceeding against me. So I failed my judicial review in the in the Supreme Court, but I had to then contend with this prosecution proceeding, and this was an attempt to cancel my license, to make a finding that I am practicing significantly below standard, and also I committed professional misconduct because they wanted the files of 20, 30 other patients from me, and I wouldn't give it to them. So I'm still on trial. Well, I kind of finished, but I'm waiting for the judgment to be released.
Didn't the chief witness or their chief witness actually admit under oath that you actually saved the woman's life?
Yes, he did. So on the
So
first day of the hearing, he was asked by the judge whether I saved the woman's life, because my barrister wouldn't ask that question, even though I told him to. But the judge went and asked, and he said, yes, my treatment saved her life. So
just for dead ordinary people like me, you're a doctor and you're on trial for your registration because you saved a woman's life with ivermectin that was legally, you were legally allowed to prescribe it then. It actually hadn't been made
yes,
illegal. Okay.
correct.
It doesn't fit in my head. It's like banging around trying to fit in like it's from another.
It wasn't illegal, Michael. You just had to have hair lice and COVID, or strongyloidosis and COVID. Then it was fine.
I'm just going to get to you now. I'm just going to get to you now, Paul, because I know we know your story back to front. But just while I go across, I just want to say what Bruce didn't say, Dr. Pay didn't say, is that he's not only has he worked in numerous war zones as an anaesthetist, I think it's about 6 or 7, isn't that right, Bruce? He also used to work on the helicopters with one of my gorgeous dear friends, Danny, and he'd be the person to come out to you if you'd fallen off a cliff or in a helicopter accident. This would be the man that would turn up with his sense of humor and stuff like this and probably try to save your life. So you're missing him. If you're on the road, he ain't coming. Now let's move to Dr. Oosterhuis. Now, Paul, you were 30, I think 32 years as an anaesthetist, and like I know the words you have for a major whatever, but what was the great crime you did? Because I saw that a doctor had won a registration back or had won a suspension after she decapitated a baby through a botched medical thing. So if she got her job back since she decapitated a baby, what did you do that was worse than decapitating the baby? Just out of interest.
So I was like Bruce. I was an anaesthetist or anesthesiologist. So 32 years in the hospital, senior specialist, critical care. You know, I didn't jump out of helicopters. That was way cool. But I looked after a lot of people over those years, and I understood what informed consent and ethics was. Anyways, I was just pointing out that there was early treatment and that people didn't need to be fearful on social media to my 50 Facebook friends, and you know, like, just don't be scared. Take vitamin D, zinc, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin. You know, evidence-based approach. It'll be okay. And but I was also critical of masks mandates. I was critical of the lockdowns. I said they didn't have any evidence. I pointed out the flaws in the PCR testing. I talked about all sorts of things, and I did some memes, and I did some hurty memes, and particularly they were hurty to the health minister, Brad Hazard, at the time, because I sent him a meme. I actually sent him a post saying, "This is the infection fatality," with a chart of the infection fatality rate by age. And this was the day that 24,000 school kids were being injected with the COVID vaccine at Pacer Arena. And I was furious because they didn't need it. And the chart showed that the risk of COVID in that age, the fatality rate was so small that you would expect 0 on those figures to die of COVID. So I said to Brad Hazard, if even one of these children dies following the shot, you have a signal of harm. And if you're not looking, you will be held culpable. And after that, I became very deplorable. I got immediate action powers, public protection. Actually, it's political protection because this is political tyranny. This is, I went for a suspension hearing, and I lost. I think I was the first doctor to lose it over informed consent and bodily autonomy, and just speaking the truth as I understood it through the science, through the numbers, through my training. And I sued them in the Supreme Court in February the following year, and by May of 2022, they actually dropped my suspension, which was a great pleasure. But I wanted more than that. I wanted them to admit that they had acted unlawfully, and they used that. Oh, doctor, you don't have standing anymore. We've given you back your license. Now go away. So I've continued the fight, just speaking the truth as I understand it, standing for ethics. The informed consent, which also means telling the truth. Your doctor should tell you the truth. Bodily autonomy, which is the right to say no, as Dr. Bruce said, and let the doctors be doctors. I've been at a lot of protests, and I've done a lot of engagement, both at Cafe and media and Substack and on X mainly these days. So that's in brief.
Who would want to tell the Australian public who don't know who APRA actually are and how they're funded? Who wants to have a crack at that? Did that make sense?
Who wants to take that? Yeah, no one wants to take that. No, APRA, Australian Practitioners Regulatory Agency. The actual governing legislation is, you take the A off it, and it's Health Practitioner Regulation National Law. But it's not exactly national. It's implemented differently and slightly differently in each state. So there, but it's meant to be a coherent. So they hold the list of practitioners, and they can govern. Once they establish this list, they can take away your ability to practice for saying hurty words to politicians.
And their board is all doctors. Is that correct?
No, I think there's one. There's one doctor, and there's someone else who's in the health industry, but the rest are no. And they'll tell you that's how the legislation designed it. It wasn't designed to be doctors and peers. That's what we replaced. Before the New South Wales Medical Council, they were the applicant in my case that I sued. Before they used to be the medical board, New South Wales Medical Board, and it was under a different regime. And for most of the first 3 decades, 2.5 decades of my practice, I really had the sense that if there was a complaint, not that there were complaints, but that it was dealt with by your peers, and everyone wanted best practice, and no one wanted harmful practitioners out in the public. But we've got this strange inversion now where people who are like that, my words were harm enough to end a 32-year career. You can't believe how much work it took to get there, But also Bruce, like you say, the Dr. Bruce.
Well, we have another guest coming on. I think we should give him a round of applause.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Hello to all the panel members and the viewers.
And I'd like to thank Dr. Hobart for brutally coercing Dennis to come on. No, Dennis, I'm glad you've come on. I really am. I feel it for you, man. You do not deserve this. You're a great man. You know, you're a lousy chess player, but you're a great man.
Thank you. Yep.
Look at your beard, brother. You're looking
Next
like
word.
It's time for a bit of a trim.
Now, you said you didn't want to say any words. Did you see the AI version of you that I've got?
Yeah, that was a good little summary. So I haven't got much to say. I just would like to mention for the benefits of all the viewers, just as a useful information, that the proceedings, I got what I expected. I think it was useful because it dispelled any illusions people might have had about the system and our place and position in it. What I would like to mention is that I have pleaded with the tribunal to promote and protect free and fair trade, and that was ignored. I also informed the tribunal about the state of the results that we are getting with the leadership of the medical board, basically by silencing experts. All the disasters are piling up, like we're getting all these cancers. We're getting all these, basically all the health outcomes are going down the gurgler and the expense going up, especially like autism is close to home.
Yep.
We've gone from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 20. So we went from the village idiot to 1 in every classroom. So I suppose the parents are responsible. Like if I hold myself responsible for our disaster, but it's hard to operate in an environment when you are deceived into having these shots, and then you basically have to be paranoid and vigilant not to try and avoid all these traps. So that's the situation.
Can I ask you, Dennis, how much money do you think you've lost in these 4.5 years? I mean, and this is only for giving people what they wanted. They wanted exemptions. How much do you think you've lost? Just have a guess.
Well, I lost my income. So I, by the time I got suspended, I was on a modest income, average GP earnings around 150,000. That's the clinic income. Basically, that's the total income of the clinic. So all the deductions come off that. I used to earn a lot more when I was working at the hospital and doing all the on-call and all the anesthetic lists and obstetrics and that sort of stuff. But that was I was out of that by 2018. So that's the money side of things. I was paranoid enough. I could see the nonsense piling up. So I was paranoid enough to try and put my finances in order. So I do have a subsistence level, comfortable level financial situation. I can't jump up and down and be extravagant and go on holidays, but I can get by. This tree trimming business I set up is more just to sort of get me out of bed in the morning and keep me occupied, really. I'm getting by, it's fine. So I never begged for money, and then I'm not asking for money now, so I'm fine. Yeah.
Do you miss being a doctor?
Medicine, I have a love and hate relationship with medicine. It has given me the best and the worst moments of my life. I have seen the profession go downhill over time and lose ground. Didn't make sense until COVID. Why? The profession is getting abused the way it is. Like we lost the respect and the peace of mind and the income, and now it's just turning into a basket case. don't even know what to call it anymore, what it is. Basically, it's a poison chalice. I suppose many of the other jobs are not much better. So
They have lots of people in Australia saying they don't trust their doctors anymore, and the government or APRA apparently is trying to figure out how to make them trust them again. What would you suggest is the only way that people can truly trust their doctors again?
you can forget all that for now. Got to recognize we are in an escalation ladder, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to realize that we have done that. We started off with the deception, right? So that was by them trying to trick you into believing that it's good for you, not the COVID jabs, but even any other intervention. And then by the 90s, early 90s, they moved on to coercion by linking your Centrelink payments and your preschool. And with COVID, they linked it to your job. So that's coercion. But there's more to this escalation ladder. The next step is rape, assault, and murder. Okay, so we're yet to enjoy that. So forget trusting your doctor for now. So at the moment, we're just moving along the escalation ladder. So you've got to understand, and this is for the benefit of the viewers, that there's a desperate intent to have access to your body and to inject.
Yep.
And that's irrespective of any other consideration. So you need to make your own conclusions and act accordingly.
When you were in Hungary, or Hungary, Romania, where you're from.
So basically, I'm a Hungarian from Romania. It was basically a partitions after the Second World War. I have done my medical training in Melbourne University. It was still one of the original 6-year courses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Looking for that. Can I ask though? Everyone from the Eastern Bloc that I've talked to, and probably everyone from Cambodia, is they said in these circumstances, not complying is the only way forward. Do you believe in that, or do you think there's any hope if people could
there
actually
is
stand
hope.
up?
So basically, these approaches that they are taking are self-defeating and not viable. Sooner or later, they fail because they ignore the essentials of success. The essentials of success is free and fair trade and the meritocracy, right? And instead, we are engaging in the 7 sins of natural law, you know, assault, rape, murder, deception, coercion, theft, and trespass, right? So we're moving along that, we're playing with those ideas, which is might be profitable on the short term, might be, some might find it funny and cute and funny, but it's not going to make us competitive in a global in a global scene, nor are we going to win any wars or I don't expect any success. I have seen all this before. The results were degradation and defeat. We are going to get it again, and just as well.
You told
So
me
as
that
you can
when you were in
see,
Hungary.
I just want to show you. I'm sitting here.
Oh.
I've done a 3 job today. I've done a 3 job earlier today, between 10 and 2, and now I'm sitting here with the cat. Can you see it? Yeah. And watching YouTube videos, right? Popcorn, watching YouTube videos, and watching the world go up in smoke, right?
Yeah.
So, yes, it's I've gone through this personal upheaval, but there's bigger issues at stake here, which is where are all of us heading? Where is the country heading for our children? And we're certainly going in a direction that cannot be supported.
You said when I interviewed you once in your practice that when under communism everything decays because no one can be bothered to do anything. Everything declines.
Yep.
Do you see that happening now in Australia?
We have gone through this before, and it's a simple concept. It's very easy to ban things and stop people from doing things, and people will stop if it becomes unprofitable to get off the couch. Then they'll stay in the couch, like I'm sitting on the couch now, and then things slowly degrade. So we need the best ideas to survive. We need the best of our people to show us the way, and that's the meritocracy part, right? So without the meritocracy operating properly, there's no chance of us being successful. And yeah, you can just look at the degradation of our country. We got rid of our manufacturing. If you just want to look at medicine, you can see the results that we are getting. The costs are going up. All the markers of well-being is going down. Everybody's unhappy. It shouldn't be like this. It doesn't have to be like this. There is a better way. But this is what we are getting. And the concern is that there are no levers in place for the system to self-correct. It has to fail. And it is
Correct.
sadness that that's the case, but I don't see how it can help itself. We cannot help ourselves. So we go into nepotism and a big government, and then stuff just fails. Central planning, too much central planning. Not that I'm against central planning. There is a place for central planning, a degree of central planning. I'm not against government. I think government and central planning has an important place. But the way things are now, we have single points of failure, we have corruption. So the results are what they are.
Dennis,
Have you
when
met
you-
Dr. Bruce Pay? Have you
Bruce?
met Dr. Bruce before?
I met him briefly. We haven't talked much.
Oh,
I'm more of a. I'm not very social.
Join the club, mate.
I got
Jesus.
people there.
I'm like the thread that joined you all.
As I was listening to you there, Dennis, I mean, I agree. I've said for a while, governments are cancers and they just grow until they kill the host, then it all starts again. And I'm reminded of, I think it was Stefan Arnio's little segment where he said,
I can't hear.
I think everyone else can, Miley.
I can hear. You can't
I
hear?
can, I can hear now.
Can you hear us? Okay.
So he said, strong men create good times create weak men create hard times create
Can't hear
strong men.
now.
We're in the
I might put
hard
you out
time
and bring you back in.
part of it.
Okay.
You know, like we have a government that has weaponized incompetence and disability, using the apparatus of the state to reward people who claim imaginary offence or victimhood in some way, whilst they sideline you, me, Paul, everyone else who actually was competent, productive, motivated, etc., etc. They've done that deliberately. You know, pity Wiley's gone, but you know, in the killing fields, Pol Pot killed all the intellectuals. He killed the doctors. He killed anyone who was competent, because that's not what government wants. That's not what a farmer wants. And you know, I'm a little bit of a sheep farmer these days, and I shot a sheep recently because I could never catch the bastard. So when I was ready to eat one, that's the one I got because it was troublesome. It's the same with human society. We're being farmed by the government, and I think you called them the rogue bulls, Michael.
Yeah, that's right. We're the rogue
They're
bulls.
troublesome. They jump out, they push on fences, they cause trouble. Too much testosterone, I suppose. And so they're the first ones who get hammered down because the government wants these docile, castrated, factory-fed farm animals that they can do what they like with and then kill. That's the metaphor that I see.
And right now, yes, every time I listen to Bruce Pay, it's like if I was listening to myself talking. Except he's more articulate and has better knowledge.
I think we both went through the School of History, though.
A little bit, yeah. And
You
I
wanna
like
say
the
something,
Pol
Dr.
Pot, but it's an interesting point. Like you brought up a Pol Pot in the context of my Lee. It's an important little fact that it was made possible by Nixon and Kissinger bombing the country just beforehand, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
Yeah, they bombed the shit out of it, and then they just walked into the Capitol and took everything over, killed everybody. See how one evil leads to the next.
Yeah.
You sow the seeds of evil, and it grows into a nice big tree, and then you see blood everywhere.
Every time the Americans decapitate a regime, it's replaced with something worse. Every single time.
You guys get invited to many parties?
No.
The truth is abrasive. It's
Yeah, it is.
uncomfortable
No, it is. man.
and gets punished.
Yeah.
And at this point, there's not much to be lost. So the reason I took a stance because I considered that there's nothing left to lose.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
On the morning of the day you started handing out exemptions, did you have a sense of your own fate, your own destiny now? Like you were signing your own death warrant by basically giving these desperate people what they wanted?
What happened was that I designed the exemptions for it to be bulletproof so that they can't attack me. Because as paranoid as I am, I did not realize just the ferocity of the reaction. So that's why I agree with the Bruce that everyone's exempt. So the whole idea of issuing exemptions is nonsense. I just did it to support people because they wanted it. That's what they wanted and came and ask for exemptions. But yes, when initially I designed it to be able to self-preserve, but it has escalated. So after the second day, once I finished at 10 o'clock at night, I knew that there's going to be trouble. And then the final day, there was a long queue at 7 a.m. And that extended down the driveway by 11 o'clock. I knew I am in trouble, and that this now has its own life. I was asked by some of the staff present whether I should send them away or do this or do that. I said, "Nah, just let it play out the way it will." And then we lost our water supply not long after, and the police came.
So they shut off your
Coincidence.
water.
Yeah, they shut off the water. Accidentally. Coincidence, not a coincidence.
When the police came in and they basically, took over the place, and that's on the recording we have. But what did you say when they knocked on your door and you opened the door and the police officer?
So basically, because there was such a huge mob of people, the police were very concerned. The police were sitting in my consulting room, and they were very, very concerned of how things might play out. So I was basically reassuring them and trying to calm them down. And I told them that, okay, it is what it is, and it has gone as far as it went, and we'll just call it a day and send everybody home now.
Well, I can correct that because I took the interview, and the myth, which I think is real, is when you opened the door to the police, you said, "Are you here for an exemption?"
Yeah, sure, that happened, and that was fine. That's not an issue. I did ask. A young lady police woman came, and she was more nervous than I was, and then I asked her if she's here for an exemption as a joke. But then they have come to my office, 2 or 3 of them. I think there were 2 of them, and then they were making phone calls, and nervous about how things might play out. Yeah.
Were they sorry at all? Did they apologize? Did they like what they were doing? Did they
No.
understand?
It was a huge problem and a huge nuisance. And nobody knew exactly what to do and how much to do. So at the end, it played out by me going out and sending people away, which took some time. And then lots of police came, and then it went down without any violence or any major upheaval. People just went away. But it was interesting that even after I had a police guard at the gate, I still had people jump the fence. I live on a 3-acre property, 2.5-acre property. They gone to the back, jumped through the fence, came through the fence, and asked for exemptions. And I issued them. Yeah.
I'm not sure how much Dr. Hobart wants to speak. That's why I'm not pressurizing
Let's let
him.
Dr. Hobart. Dr. Hobart did not say anything yet, and we want to hear what Dr. Hobart has to say.
All right. Well, sorry, I've had some computer problems. That's why I'm appearing and disappearing. So I apologise for that. I'm not. I might have to get a new computer. I don't know why this is happening. But first of all, Dennis is 100% right. What he's done is completely right, ethically, morally, medically, according to medical ethics, everything. He's done nothing wrong. That's the first thing I'd like to say. What has happened to him is an outrage. Absolute outrage. It's killing an innocent man, basically. It's wrong. My thoughts are now mainly occupied with what to do next, how to progress. I know I've had discussions with Dennis. He's saying we have to wait till the system collapses before we can do anything. I think maybe he's right, but there must be. I'm not particularly happy with that because I want to do something. I sort of get depressed if I don't.
I think we should take out APRA. I think we should take a groundswell and take out APRA. And the first job is to educate the people who APRA is. Most people have no idea who APRA is. And I don't see any point for them. You have a board of general practitioners. Certainly you have things that could do what APRA does. I mean, as far as I can see, APRA is just protecting the product of big Pfizer, and they'll crush anyone who gets in the way of that. So how does Australia benefit from that? How do Australians benefit from that? I have a beautiful picture of you, Dr. Hobart, that I took at a protest. It's one of my favorite pictures. It's you holding up a sign, "Let doctors be doctors." And I'm looking at these doctors now. You are good doctors. And the sign should actually say, "Let good doctors be doctors." Australia is suffering a great loss from you 5, 6, not practicing. We are the losers. And we get nothing in return. It's not like we lose you and we get a whole bevy of new doctors who are brave enough to stand up and do what's right by the Hippocratic Oath. Like today, Dr. Pearce wanted to come on, but she can't because the lawyers, she's got, APRA has banned her from talking politically. Dr. William Bay wants to come on, the youngest of you, one of the bravest. And he can't come on because his lawyers are saying not to. Dr. Nixon and I are reaching out to similar doctors like you around the world because I think it's a time the whole world is going to lose out when the bravest doctors are not allowed to practice. I mean, there's no win-in for us. The only win here is for Pfizer, is for the big pharma that gets to sell its product, protected by the government, protected by APRA. I don't see any benefit. It's not like any of you have killed anyone. It's not like you've been on charges for anything else. You just gave the people what they wanted, which was an exemption for time to think before they took something that has turned out to be highly toxic.
Please let me interrupt.
Sure, buddy.
There is no such thing as APRA. It is just a name. It's an arm of the government, same as the tribunal. And the system is not designed to self-correct. Okay? So that's why, because we haven't got the mechanisms to self-correct, we haven't got real political power. We haven't got levers to help ourselves, apart from trying to harm minimize by not holding our arms out. It's not just protecting yourself when you don't put your arm out, you're making everyone else stronger. Because that makes it makes it easier for everyone else to resist. And that's, I don't just mean vaccines, it's all the other nonsense as well. Every time you comply with nonsense, you make everybody else weaker. So, sorry, that's my 2 cents worth. And I would like more learned and more able panel members of the panel have their say. Thank you.
Thank you.
We love you, Dennis. We love you, Dennis.
We did hang out with him. Oh my God, it's so much fun.
And we all agree. Obviously, we drink the Kool-Aid, and I'm well aware that there's another camp that sees a totally different reality, and it's really hard for me to reconcile your points about that we're in a really dangerous spot right now, and that maybe we have to see everything break down before we can actually move forward. And I think that the action of the Medical Board of Australia against you and against Miley and Mark and all of us, and APRA and all the other institutions, they've breached our trust so badly now for 5 years, and they're discrediting themselves through their actions, and they're setting the seeds for their own destruction. They can't see it, and by the destruction I mean people are going to stop trusting those institutions when they act like this. So when they have a chance to look at Mark's case and Mark's case, I counsel them to think about that, because but I like you, I think this is a one-way street. Oh, I'm getting feedback. I'll stop.
No, I couldn't hear it, Paul. You sounded great.
I was okay. I was hearing another voice.
Oh, it's weird. There's Dennis. What is your what's your business name for the tree clippings?
Otway Trees. There's another business which is close by, which is called Otway Tree Care. That's not me, because they care and I don't. I am just Otway Trees.
Otway Tree Cares, yeah. I got Otway Tree. I'm looking for your website. Are you Otway Tree Care?
Trees, otwaytrees.au.
Otwaytrees.au.
That's my website, yes.
Trees.au.
So you can get a tree lopper who will do no harm.
Oh, well, I'm more harm than ever now. I'm killing all these beautiful trees. My heart aches. Some of the trees that I'm bringing down.
Yep.
Oh, that's sad, man.
Yeah. They're like the one I cut down today. This was a beautiful, healthy tree, nice leaves.
Okay, there it is there. Dr. Dennis, tree clipping business. So
you found it?
Yeah, it's up. I got the link there. So put it up there. Yeah. Okay, I'd rather than keep you. Is there anything else anyone would like to get off their chest? I admire you all for coming on. I actually feel like crying. I think it's such despair that we're here. And to me, we have to fight. Dr. Pay says it the best. The way we win is we don't quit. So I think not quitting doesn't mean just sitting back and waiting. So yeah, so I'm of the thing to keep pushing ahead in some manner or form. Yeah, but yeah.
If I could just say,
Sure.
just speaking up, and it gives people hope. You know, it does give people hope, even though you might be feeling like shit. Just by standing up and saying what you believe in does give people hope. So we got to remember that. Yeah.
Did Dr. Hobart just swear on Cafe Lockdown? Did he go?
I don't think April's going to like you, Mark, for going on to spilling your guts again on social media. That's not going to go damn well. You know, your case is still ongoing. I would be more careful what I'm saying. Have you uttered any prescribed phrases?
I've got a Twitter account. I post reasonably regularly on that.
Yeah, I follow you.
And it's So I mean, I just say the truth. I don't really criticize people. I just say truth things, you know, and they can't really argue with that. Well, they can try, but it won't work.
Mark, you should be aware of what RFK Jr. said. They don't punish you for telling lies. They punish you for telling the truth.
That's correct.
Absolutely. But look, I don't know why, but I feel compelled to do it. I can't help myself.
Same.
Yep.
Same.
So I'd like to go back to Paul's comment about the alternative reality, because I have difficulty with that as well. And at my hearing, the expert witness for the medical board, which is Dr. Gillian Singleton, who I understand has also been involved with a couple of the other doctors, made, you know, the basic proposition was that there was this really nasty pandemic, and we had these vaccines that were safe and effective, and I wrote these exemptions which put people back into the community and put people's grandmas at risk. You know, the same rhetoric that we were getting 5 years ago. So I'm interested, Paul, in terms, because you're obviously coming into contact with colleagues that see that narrative that is their reality. How do we reconcile that? I mean, I think there's increasing evidence that the concerns about excess deaths from vaccination are coming home to roost. I mean, this week we've had John Campbell talk to Robert Clancy about the Japanese study, 20 million people, and you're nodding your head there, so you've obviously, that's crossed in front of you as well. I'll hand that over to you to provide your interpretation.
It is really strange because I mean, there's a lot of data points now that are showing that those shots have caused massive harm, and I think more and more people understand that the things called childhood vaccines didn't have placebo controls. So they were never studied. They were the one intervention that didn't have true placebo controls, but now has been elevated to a religion. And all of us, I became aware of things like Dr. Paul Thomas in the US, and there was vastly important data that I saw being suppressed. And and then we had the Zervos study from the Ford Clinic that he saw the same findings as Dr. Thomas. He compared vaccinated and unvaccinated. It was a powerful signal. It explains a lot of what Dennis was trying to tell the regulators in his letters, but he didn't. He knew that if he published it, he would lose his profession. There are lots and lots of evidence of excess theft now. Like you say, the most recent is that 18 million people study, and the work from New Zealand and Czechoslovakia and elsewhere where we had large databases. It seems undeniable. So then you've got to say, well, what's going on? What is going on? Are we insane? Or are the regulators? And that happened to me in my hearing in 2021. They said, well, Doc, you're laying out this as a synthetic gene injection. It hasn't had long-term study, long-term data. They haven't studied it for safety in pregnancy. They haven't looked for cancer, its ability to produce cancer. They haven't looked at its ability to produce heritable effects. I said that to them. They don't care. They don't care about the facts. They don't care about the science. And what Dennis has shown is all they care about is compliance. All they care about is compliance with whatever they say, and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to have a basis in reason, ethics, logic, or science. And they have their own Potemkin science. You know, people like who shall remain nameless. I've been fighting with them for 5 years now. They have these vast edifice of where the study shows harm, and then at the end there's but of course COVID jabs save millions of lives, and yet you read the body of the study and you go, this was horrendous. It produced harm. Why are they still giving this? So I feel like we've got a million data points and that we've been rational and moral, and by extension, the regulators and APRA, the Medical Board of Australia, is acting immorally and is acting unethically, and that's my main message. I don't think any of us have done any harm. I think it's egregious what they've done. Part of me still wants to yell at the top of my voice at how fucking insane that we're in this situation, and that 5 years later they're still pulling out the thing. And this is why I think Dennis is right. I think we're in danger, and we need to stand up, and we need to stand up now. And we're here. We stood up, but there's a lot of you out there that need to stand up and tell them to pull their heads in, because they're going to play this trick. They're going to run this playbook again, and it may be soon. So it's time to stand up and be counted.
I would like to mention, if I may, there was a question underneath there by one of the viewers of how come more doctors did not stand up. Just would like to bring your attention to the viewers that to the Milgram experiments, that it has been shown that even without any coercion, just on the say-so of an authority figure, 80% of people will kill if instructed to do so. Now, add to that the carrot and the stick, and you can bring it to 99.999%. That's why there's so few of us who did anything.
Well, look at the tragedy from my point of view. I've got a panel of doctors, and I can't get a prescription for medical marijuana from any of you fuckers.
True.
It's a crime.
I think we all saw during COVID, just by going to Bunnings, we saw what a vest and a job did to the average worker. And I'm reminded of the story of, I think it was called Police Battalion 42, which was like a reserve police battalion in Nazi Germany, and they got mobilized and sent to Poland in about 1942, and they became the most efficient killers of Jews in the whole East. And they were just ordinary people. It was the postman, it was the teacher, etc., etc. And almost none of them stood up to it. And fast forward to COVID, I would go down to Bunnings, and instead of the door greeter sort of awkwardly greeting me like they used to do, they'd hiss at me if I was, too close or not scanning in or walking the wrong way up and down an aisle. And they turn like that. All you got to do is give them an orange vest and a job, and they turn into, killers. It's not hard.
It's extraordinary. It's terrifying.
Hmm?
It truly is. That's why a lot of people, when we talk about the shrine, they always go, "Oh, those police officers who fired on Australians went Australian. They were from overseas," and they weren't. Even people in the movement don't want to believe they're Australians, but they were our brothers and sisters. They're our kids, and they were given guns, and they were told those people are bad people, and they enjoyed firing upon them. I was there. I saw it. They enjoyed it. Yeah, they had no problem with it whatsoever.
Do you know, the ironic thing is it really wasn't about health. It never was. It was about power and control. It was about, oh, you can go here, but you can't go there. Getting us used to locking ourselves in the house because they said so. There's the evil goobies outside, and as a result, you have to start to do papers, please, and checkpoints. And we lived through that, and we're still traumatized. But we're in this situation. Big Brother turned up with a stethoscope. Our profession was the stalking horse for totalitarian control, and the lockdowns were medical martial law. And far too many people accepted it. And now, even when the lies have been exposed, the people are still carrying on as if nothing has changed, and that's the danger. That's the danger. Unless we face what happened over those last 5 years, we are going to be enslaved, and we are going to be killed. Like Dennis says, it's as serious as that, and so that's why it's so great to be in the company of deplorables like yourself.
For the benefit of the viewers, I would like to point out how medicine degraded over time, and that was not an accident. We started off with a doctor being a respected professional with a good income and a peace of mind where he could think about your problems. And yes, he would cock up and bury a few people, but then most of the time he would think about how to fix you and what errors he might have made and how to remedy those. And then over time, we made him easier to sue. Like all the common law stuff about common law protections were removed. So he was made easy to sue, and the public was incited against him, like against the doctor, to sue him, and he charges too much, and he can't be trusted, and we got to regulate him and do this and do that. And this has escalated to a point that the profession is so traumatized now that it will kill you. So that has been proven with COVID, that most doctors have injected without asking a question. And if you went in with your side effects, then they called the psychiatrist on you, called it anxiety.
Yeah.
And this is the same way. So basically, a traumatized doctor over time gets demoralized and will be ready to kill you. And that's what you see. This is how they basically train torturers as well, that they torture them and they get demoralized and able to do unspeakable acts. Just putting it out there. So if you can't trust your doctor, that's good. That means that you already know that the doctor is compromised and controlled. But the doctor is just a doctor. It's just the product of the system. and decades-long degradation.
Dennis, I think it started with Medicare. You know, a wise lawyer friend once told me, you work for the person who pays you.
Wow.
And with Medicare, it's not the patient that pays you anymore, it's the government. And what that means is you're not working for the patient anymore, you're working for the government. That's just the way it is. And that's why so many doctors complied with the recent tyranny, because they were just agents of the government. They weren't trying to get the best deal for grandma. They were trying to do what the government says, or they were in trouble. That's where it all started to go wrong. And you can't get out of it now. You know, you cannot go and see, you can't just go to the doctor and say, I'll pay you cash up front. There's always going to be some link there. You know, you can't go into even a private hospital and just say, look, I'll put 20 grand across the bar, just treat me for cash. They won't do it. They can't do it. It's all tied to numbers, and you are in the system and your doctor is the system. In fact, your doctor is the system. So they're not your doctor anymore. They're the government's.
Wow, what a statement. Is this why they've stopped doctors reciting the Hippocratic Oath? That's what Dr. William Bay told us, that they don't do it anymore.
Okay.
And when he was on stage, when we did a show, the No Ghost Show Live, in Melbourne, there were several doctors in the audience, and they all said yes. They never had to pledge it either. Do you think that's on purpose?
Michael, the Hippocratic Oath is nothing more than the rephrasing of the free and fair trade. So it can be summarized as free and fair trade. And that brings us back to the deception, coercion, trespass, theft, rape, abuse, and murder bit.
Sweet. I made an AI version of you, Doc. Did you know that?
Sorry, mate?
I made an AI version of you. Do you want to?
I've seen it at the beginning. Yes, I thought that was
favorite.
Interesting.
I love Cafe Locked Out. Every time I watch Michael and Paul, my toes curl up. I'm not sure what that is.
Oh, you can ask some of the doctors here. There's plenty here.
Yes, yes. You managed to surprise me. Yeah.
It sounds a bit like Putin, one of them. I think you used Putin's voice. There's this. Is there anything else anyone would like to say? This is a very hard show. I'm really glad you came on, Dennis. And I think it's really important that people hear this. I hope you share it, because the only ones that can fix this is you, the public. The Australian public has to go, enough. This is not doing anything for us now. We are not benefiting from this. And it's your taxpayers' money that's paying for all of it anyway, probably. And you're not benefiting. How are you benefiting from this? It's a simple question. And we can ask more. And I know we had Malcolm Roberts on the other day. He says One Nation wants to get rid of APRA. So maybe give him a chance. See if that's the reason Dennis is wearing orange. You know, see if that's a reason to get rid of them. Even let's give her a chance. She can't do any worse than the ones we have in. And everyone's turning against them. Hughesy is now ripping into them. He wants a new election. There's people have had enough now. I think there's not revolution in the air, but there's a murmuring of it. I don't think we're near revolution yet, but people are really pissed off. And the figures coming out of how much the government has been spending and how much these politicians have earned in the last few years. You know, that woman, I can't remember her name, spent $1,000 on a car waiting outside a tennis match. Most people in Australia now don't even earn that as a wage. You know, so this is it. Well, to me, when I look at Parliament now, it's like watching the pigs in Animal Farm.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. That's where we're at.
Michael, I don't know if we're going to have a revolution, but I suspect we're going to have a collapse.
Yeah. We need it.
And the Lighthouse Declaration thing that I did with Robert Brennan and Ros Nealon Cook, it's just saying, it assumed a collapse, honestly, because it was the death of meritocracy, it was the death of ethics. And we said informed consent, ending censorship, ending the lawfare, bodily autonomy. You know, we have to have a foundation on which to build the new health system, because I don't think this system's going to stand, because it is just causing too much harm, which was the point that Dennis made in his letter to the medical board, and they didn't listen. And they didn't want to listen, and they attacked him for saying it, and they attacked all of us for saying they were doing harm, and we wouldn't stand for it. And we don't have any regret for speaking our truth and speaking up for those principles. So I would just say, look, you know, I think that's if we don't have those basic truths, the right to tell the truth as a doctor, as opposed to having the government tell you what the truth is, or some regulator telling you what the truth is, then we're in a dangerous situation, especially when those doctors are basing it on their observations in the community, in the literature. They didn't care about any of that. So these are the foundations we need. I think the collapse is coming. The collapse in trust is already well underway. And I thought they would be smart enough to wake up and turn that around. They still have a chance with Miley and Dr. Mark. But we'll see.
Anything
can't
you'd like
turn
to
it
say,
round,
Dr.
Paul.
Miley?
Sorry?
Anything you would like to add?
Oh, I just want to say I'm when I first got into this state, trying to do the right thing, I just couldn't do it the other way. So I couldn't understand why there's so few doctors standing up and because they're just morally wrong, and I couldn't get myself to inject anyone, you know, with the vaccine. So I'm glad in a way that I got suspended, that I never had to do that. But you know, fighting the last few years been hard, but I've gotten tougher and more resilient, and my hearing, my closing submission hearing was August of last year, and I'm still waiting for my judgment to be released. But I'm not stopping. I do not believe. Well, I can't say what the tribunal's decision is going to be, but I would suspect that it's going to be adverse against me. So I'm prepared to fight on. And I want to ask the public to support me, because having them behind me is very powerful, and it's not me that's important, it's them, their support and their voices that really helps me. So I don't want to give up, and I want to fight all the way.
I'm with you.
You know what was extraordinary, Michael, at the tribunal of hearing of Miley, the government was actually arguing that at the time that she treated this woman and gave her ivermectin, that the policy was to do nothing and just let them die. You know, wait until they turn blue, can't breathe, call an ambulance, and that's it. That was the only treatment. And she was put in a circumstance where she had to make a choice. The patient had been in hospital and left, and she treated, and the patient who would have very likely died without the treatment, and her own expert witnesses witness against her, and all the expert witnesses, Robert Clancy and Pierre Corey and all great witnesses supported that. But they don't seem to care about the facts, you know. But the facts matter, you know. I was outraged. There were many times I had to get up and walk out because I couldn't believe that that's what the government was saying, "Doctor, you're in the wrong because you actually treated a patient who would have died and survived because of your treatment." It's insane, and yet they're doing it.
How about you, Dr. Hobart? Are you feeling hopeful about your outcome?
Well, look, I think I have to accept reality in view of what happened to Dennis, and this has got nothing to do with right and wrong, or if you practice medicine correctly or not. It's a government program, government agenda. So I don't expect to win. But I think what can be drawn from Dennis's decision, his punishment, it just confirms that the powers that control us are evil. I don't know any other way to put it. And evil will not prevail.
No.
A young woman once said to me, Paul's heard this numerous times, you probably all have, but I think it's really important that she did. She said that we have a moral obligation not to sell hopelessness, no matter how tight its grip. And we're all old. And there's young people coming up who have $1.5 trillion, $1 trillion worth of debt, no houses they can afford. They need to see that the generation that preceded them, that there is some defiance and fight in us. And if we're not fighting for ourselves and our own little victories, our own pile of dirt, we're fighting for them, because if all we care about in the end is our own pile of dirt, all we'll end up owning, all of us together, is dirt. And so we have to actually fight. I'm going to tell you things that I see that are really beautiful. I see grandmothers getting up in the morning and delivering 500 newspapers of the light around their local area, grandmothers and grandfathers. I see new churches filling up with young people, new churches that don't even have a church, but they're looking for a new voice, and they've got new preachers, and it's Christian this, and they're filling up. And I get invited, and I sit there and I listen to them and I watch their passion. And I think Jesus has been dead for 2,000 years. He had no internet, nothing, no Facebook, no Instagram, and he's still drawing a crowd. So there's something in his message that is still drawing people here. I see people attacking every comment now that the government does where it pushes vaccines or anything like that online. It's the people online are basically saying, bring it on. So I see defiance, and I see people now no longer attacking those who are standing up. We used to get attacks. We don't anymore. They either pat us on the back or they nod. And Australians, I think, are really, really good people. They're caring people. And the greatest tragedy of this is they used our great ability to care for each other against us. And that's how they separated us and done this. But we can always redeem ourselves. And even though we've lost our identity in these last few years, we can define ourselves by how we handle this. That's why I listen to Bruce Pay. Whenever I get down a lot. I hear him say, we win this by not quitting. I'm pretty sure that's what you said. I hope I'm not got it wrong. Otherwise, my whole life's a miss. But he said, this is how we win, by not quitting. And I don't think we should quit. I actually think you doctors have a way of leading from the front. And by that, I mean by courage, by integrity, by being the doctors you were born to be. Not that you can practice, but I believe other doctors will eventually follow. Because I went to one doctor about a year ago for a checkup on my heart. And he was so down and locked in with this. And I'm sure all doctors out there are going, because if you all just stood together, you could F off APRA and the Australians would applaud you. And if doctors can't do it, who else is going to do it? The trolley boys, the cleaners. If doctors can't save it, if doctors can't lead from the front, who else is going to do it? You know, and we're on the right path. We cannot leave this to the next generation and the next generation, and they will be enslaved, and we will be their enslavers. So we can't quit. We just cannot quit. This is just hard days we have to get through. We have to use them to define ourselves, sharpen our swords, and tell them to fuck off. I tell people now, we got to be like the Corellas. We got to fly over APRA with all our wings flying, going, fuck it out, fuck it out, fuck it out, fuck it out, and fucking this. The larrikin spirit is in our souls, and it's this time we've been tested, and we have to rise to the occasion. Our forebearers have done it. Our forebearers have done it from the convict days to here to the army to everything. We must fight. That's why Mai Lee is. I'm such a supporter of Mai Lee. She gets out there, she does it, and it's not for ourselves. It's for the others. Yeah, I can't force you to do it, but here it is. That's why I love it when you post, Dr. Hobart. I love it. David comes on, Oosterhouse comes on, Dr. Pay does that Monday show. It's brilliant. I'm just jealous that it's not on in the evening so I can watch it. It's just such a great show. And Dennis, you're a hero, man. You're a folk hero no matter what. And we need to make you a folk hero. I'm sorry. We have to do it even if you don't want to do it. We have to make you a folk hero because doctors should be like you. Doctors should be like you. You gave the people what they wanted. You listened to the people and the people answered. That's why if you listen to that audio recording I have, I was getting calls in Melbourne going, there's a doctor offering exemptions. People were coming from everywhere. You were the people's doctor for that time. You're a great man, Dennis. I know you don't feel it, but you are, you know. I'm honored to call you my friend. I am so honored to call
Thank
you
you,
my
Michael.
friend. I'm serious,
As a
man.
practical final comment,
Don't you go down after that great rant. Don't you take us down.
as a practical final comment, the idea now is to slow down the machine so that it cannot escalate from deception and coercion to the next step before it collapses. That's the game now. And that's the aim of us doing what we do, is to slow the machine down so it cannot move on to direct assault before it collapses on itself. I don't like our chances, but it is something worth fighting for.
I'm going to play that clip of you telling you curl your toes every time you look at me. I'll play that clip.
Okay, I'm done.
I like the Corellas. I like the Corellas rant. I say I've developed a bit of acquired Tourette's in the last 5 years. Because there are things that just make me fly. You know?
What doesn't kill us defines us. Maybe there's an Australia out there that will be built on how we handle, even if we go collapse, who will we be in the collapse? You know, you look, Bruce is a great historian. This shit happens all the time. Things build, things collapse, but humans continue to persevere. This is our time. This is our time. And we have a great country. We're good people. We've just had 40 years of easy times that's made a lot of us weak. And we're like a ship covered in barnacles. And we need a bit of oppression to strip off those barnacles, you know? And it's our country. It's our country. We're here now. We lose it, that's our fault, you know?
And we need some cafe locked out high vis capes that we can put on. I want to see Miley in high vis.
Some kamikaze blue bees. Anybody else want to say anything? Actually, Dr. Hobart, why don't you take us out with a bit of defiance? I know it's in you, brother.
Well, I fully agree with exactly what you said. We have to keep fighting. Dennis has come forth he's a leader now. He always was, but he can't. You've been thrust in the spotlight, and you'll give hope to many people. I've seen the responses to the papers. Herald Sun and Daily Mail put up articles, and huge response, positive response to what you were saying, Dennis. So whether you like it or not, people love you and want to follow you, and this is important because it'll drag us out of this horrible despair, this quagmire that we're stuck in, where we have government tyranny telling us what to do about not only medical things but about everything. We have to find our way to be human again, and you've shown a way to do it. So keep going, Dennis.
You hear that, Dennis? You hear that?
Wise
You hear that? Did you
words
hear
as
that?
always from Dr. Mark.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Dennis.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis. If you ever get a chance to any of you, go to Dennis's place and hang out for a few hours and stuff. Gorgeous family, great fun. I've had great memories there that I miss it. I always pull in, even if I don't need anything done on the bus. There's it's great fun.
And
He's a
you are
great
all
guy.
welcome. It's an open invitation.
There you go. There you go. And he's used to big crowds turning up, so don't worry. He's had plenty of practice. Okay, gentlemen, and my darling Miley, I'm going to call it nights. We're going out with David Rakuti's song, Undo What's Been Undone. And we persevere. We take our hits and we pick ourselves up. We dust ourselves up and we persevere. I love you, Dennis. You take care, brother, and say hi to your family from me. I miss them. Same to all of you. Great, great respect from
Thank
the only
you.
person
Good
here,
night.
not a doctor. I'm ambassador of the lay people. We have huge respect. If there was a surgery where you guys were in the GPs, there'd be lines and lines of people waiting to get in. You're what the Australian public want. They just don't know it yet. Good night.
Good night.
Is it only me who's not too blind to see what's happening today? The world has lost its way. The signs are all around, in the air and on the ground. They're taking all our rights. We've been taken for a ride. Always said there'll be deception at the end. Two worlds will collide. It's all hidden in plain sight. There ain't no common sense. It's just college ignorance. The grooming and the lies. Well, it's a devil in disguise. But everyone obeys portraits. Fighting black against the white, fighting left against the right, fighting woman against man. Do you really understand? Divided we will fall, but united we'll stand tall. Together all as one. Let's undo what's been undone. what's been undone. Fighting black against the whites, fighting left against the right, fighting woman against man. Do you really understand? Divided we will fall, but united we'll stand tall. Together all as one, let's undo what's been undone. Divided we will fall, but united we'll stand tall. Together all as one, let's undo what's been undone. Is it only me?